Hello. All right. So today we're going to talk about paint consistency. And I'm going to mix some paint and demonstrate some different paint pouring techniques and mix the acrylic paint with Floetrol to make fluid acrylics. And so I've mixed a couple of paints already. So yeah, today we're going to use some crimson and some turquoise and some phthalo blue, and we're going to even mix the robin's egg blue from Craft Smart Up, and it's all going to be mixed up with Floetrol. And then I'm going to show the different paint consistencies for different techniques. And so first we'll start with a little bit thicker paint, and it's always easier to start thicker and add water to it to get it thinner for some of the thinner consistency paints. So, all right, kind of give a moment, let some few people hopefully come in. Hope everybody is having a good day and doing well. I wanted to show you guys a little bit of a mixture of different brands, different consistencies of paint. So I have already mixed this this turquoise with the Floetrol, 3 parts Floetrol to 1 part paint and some crimson. And so now we're going to mix a little bit of this artist. So these two are the cheap paint. This is my favorite acrylic brand for fluid acrylics. And so then I'll show you a little bit of trick on how you can test your consistency, because paint pouring is truly all about the consistency. So here I have some Floetrol, just straight Floetrol from the jug. It's just hard to get the jug up here and not spill it. So just regular American US Floetrol. And that's what I have here in this cup, just because it's easier to maneuver here on the camera than that big, huge jug. So I've put, before I pour too much in, show you how much paint. There's a little bit of paint in there. Now I'm going to put 3 parts Floetrol. And I just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact. So you can kind of see I've got that much paint, that much Floetrol, and then you mix, mix, mix. So it's much easier if you add your paint in, because it's your thicker component, then add your Floetrol in, instead of having a cup of Floetrol and put your paint in there. For some reason, it's a little bit harder to mix. You can still do it that way. It still mixes up. It's just a little bit harder. So how are you all doing? Hope everybody's doing well. So the first technique we're going to do is a tree ring pour. Today we're going to use a bunch of 4-inch ceramic tiles. And we're going to do a tree ring pour, because that technique, that particular fluid acrylic paint pour technique, you need your paints just a little bit thicker. Hi, Janice, how are you doing? How was your week? So make sure to scrape the sides whenever you're mixing up. And I do usually mix in my bottles, but I wanted to demonstrate today on camera. So this is quite thick. So I have a bottle, just regular water. I'm going to put just a little bit. You can kind of see how much water I put in there. And then you're going to mix that up. And this color is the Artist Loft Phthalo Blue. Just the student grade or the level 1. We're doing good. We're doing good. It's just starting to snow here. We live in Southwest Washington, and so we rarely get snow. So when we get snow, it's an exciting event. And so we're actually supposed to have snow for a couple days. And so we're excited. It's just started maybe snow in the last hour. I mean, of course, not sticking yet. It probably won't start sticking for a couple hours, but it's super exciting to us to have a couple days of snow. So, all right. Hey, Lost Dog, Dog Pound, how are you? So let me show how it's flowing off the top and kind of beating across the surface. And this is on the thicker end. So for like a swipe, a flip cup, or a dirty pour, you're going to want it a tad bit thinner. But first, we're going to do a tree ring. And we're not going to put any silicone in it yet, because normally you don't want silicone in for a tree ring. So I know those of you that have snow, it's actually too thick. I'm going to put a little bit more in. And I do know that these are too thick as well. But those of you that get snow regularly, it's probably not as exciting of an event. But to us, we don't get much snow. So to us, it's super exciting. So, all right. So there's the blue. That's pretty mixed up good for a tree ring pour. See how it flows right off the end of your stick, but it doesn't sink immediately in. It kind of beads across the surface, but then it does sink, you know, pretty fairly quickly. But so let me see if I can maybe even show you. So, all right. You would send all your snow this way, I bet. So, all right, we'll mix that turquoise. About 12 degrees there. It is about 32, 33 degrees. It was 36 degrees earlier, so it's just lowering the temperature enough to start snowing good. So we're excited. So just mixing that water in, each of the colors. Oh, good. Are you finding this helpful? Please let me know if you have any questions. So these are 1 part paint, 3 parts Floetrol. So those are mixed. So now we're going to mix a little bit of white. I got a larger cup for the white because I need a little bit more white. We're going to use the cheap paint titanium white. Priority melt only. Or it'll melt. It'll melt anyways. So, okay, we're going to put quite a bit of white in there because we're going to mix up quite a bit of white. So we have, I don't know, a good amount of white in there. And then we got our Floetrol. And this is what we're using as a pouring medium. Other people might be wanting to mix glue. They want to mix. Last week on the live stream, we went over pouring mediums. So I use Floetrol. We're just going to use Floetrol. Now 3 parts Floetrol. Now that's for these thicker paints. These kind of in the tube, you know, a little bit thicker paint, medium body paints. So now we got about 3 parts Floetrol. And then you got mix, mix, mix. It's going to be harder to see it mixed in because it's white, but you can tell. Now, normally I mix it in my bottles, but when you're a beginner, you might need to mix it in the cups. It's okay. Just reuse your cups. Don't waste your cups. Make sure to scrape the sides, scrape the bottom, get all of it. And then we do need a little bit of water. Double up on the insurance. How much do you think insurance is on snow? All right, so we got that one mixed up. Now we're going to mix up this Craft Smart. So that's still a little bit, before we mix the Craft Smart, we got to get this one mixed up. Okay. So we have, and I'm going to show you in just a second, a way to kind of test if it's how it is your consistency. So now we have just a Robin's Egg Blue, and it's Craft Smart brand, which is Michael's. Now for this thinner paint, so you could tell that was a much thinner paint, you're going to want to put probably 2 parts Floetrol. So for the thicker medium body paints, I put 3 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint. For a little bit of a thinner paint, the craft paints, I'm going to put 2 parts Floetrol. You're going to get about the same consistency. 1 part paint, 2 parts Floetrol. And then I'll show you, we probably will not need water. I'm just adding, I actually have distilled water, but you could add plain water. If you're going to mix in cups and you're going to use it within a couple days, plain water, tap water is fine. I have distilled water only because I mix up large quantities and they're in my bottles for, you know, several months. So I use distilled water. So that's what I have in my bottle, but tap water is fine if you're going to use up your paint within a few days. You just don't want that sitting around mixed in your paint if it's tap water. For some reason, you tend to have molds and funky things happen. Only if it's going to sit around. If you're going to use it up, use tap water, but distilled water if it's going to sit around in bottles. So, all right. So, see, we got about the same consistency when we use 2 parts Floetrol to 1 part paint and no water for like a craft paint. These smaller, like you get at the craft store, just little Apple Barrel or Folk Art, or there's many different brands of the Craft Smart, the different little craft paints. So, all right, we got that one mixed up. And I am going to use today a little bit of black and a little bit of copper that I already have mixed up ahead of time. So we don't have any silicone. Let me move these out of the way, and then I'm going to show you a little trick to test these. So now I have a piece of just like paper cardstock. And I'm just folding it in half so it's kind of can sit up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a little bit of paint and I'm going to just drop a little bit of paint on here. And then I'll bring it up and I'll give you guys a better view. But I'm going to drop just the same amount of paint, just a little bit of each color. And we're going to watch them race down the paper. And that's how we're going to kind of test our consistency. Because for this technique, a tree ring pour, you want them all the same consistency and just a tad bit thicker. Then we're going to thin them out and do some other techniques, and I'll demonstrate that. But first, we're going to test out the thickness. We just want to get a little bit here and let it kind of race down the thing, and I'll bring it up to a better view in just a moment. We just want to get the same amount of each of the colors. And a little bit of our white. Oh, I could put a little bit of the copper on there too. So we can see, I think you guys can see it from that view, that our white is a little bit thinner. We could put a little bit of water in it. Now that Craft Smart, that Robin's Egg Blue, it is a little bit thin. So since it's thin, I'm going to add just a tad bit more Floetrol. Just a tad though, not too much. You got 5 on the red to win? I think the thinner, because the one that's going to win is going to be our thinner one. It's going to fall faster, the thinner one. And I kind of think it's this one is the thinner one, but let's see if we've thickened it up. And then our white is a little bit thin. So it's a little bit thick. So to thin our white a bit, we're going to put just a tad bit more water. And I'm looking outside and I'm seeing it's snowing good. I hope it just keeps on going. We might have a couple days of snow, which for the Portland area, I live in Southwest Washington near Portland, Oregon. That's a pretty good amount of snow for a couple days of snow for us. So, okay, let's get a little bit more white. So do you see how, let me see how you guys, yeah, you guys can see that view. I need a little bit more on the stick. Let's see. Let's get a proper, oh, that was too much. Let's get a good amount there. So we can see we have thinned the white down quite a bit. I put a little bit too much, so it raced down a little bit faster than we would have liked. But see how we've got them about the same now. This one raced down a little too quick, but we thinned it down, and now it's pretty about the same consistency. We want that for this pour. So, all right, I'm going to set that aside, and we'll bring this back out when we add a little bit more water, when we're going to thin it down for different techniques. But for now, we're just going to do a, let's see, let's move this over just a little bit. And all I have is some cups upside down and some ceramic tiles. There you go. All right, so we're going to pour in just these little tiny, they almost look like a solo cup, but they're real little. They're from the Dollar Tree. So for a tree ring pour, you're going to want to kind of pour down the side so that your paint does not mix. My paint is quite thick, actually. That's okay. So this is quite thick. You would actually probably, I'm going to show you doing a pour with paint that's pretty thick. And then we're going to thin it down and show some other techniques with it thinned down. So that was just some copper. And I'm just pouring down the side so I get the even layers inside. And then I don't get the, it doesn't mix within. It stays kind of layered. So, all right, that's probably plenty of paint for this just 4-inch tile. Hey, Robert, how are you doing? How's the family? So now I'm just going to hold it steady. You can go in a ring, but I have a hard time going a circular. So if you just hold it steady, it'll give you some rings, especially if you do it nice and slow. My paint's a little bit thick, so. All right, that was plenty of paint, quite a bit of paint actually. So now we're just gonna put our hands to an L and go to each side. So that is a tree ring pour. So that's probably the thicker, on the thicker side of the consistency of paint that you want. And next we're gonna do a flip cup. And so we're gonna add a little bit of water to show a consistency that's better with a little bit of water. Different techniques. Now, the next, when I'm going to add a little bit of water and show you the consistency, that's probably what you need for 85 to 90% of pours. I would say what you need. I'm going to add just a little bit of water, and it's going to be the consistency of probably about crepe batter. I mean, I've said this 100 times, so I'm sure you guys have heard me say, you want the consistency of about crepe batter, warmed up honey, about that consistency. So that is a tree ring pour. Now we're going to add a little bit of water, and I'm going to show you that consistency. For most pours, you want it to. Now this one, I really don't think I'm going to add any water. It's probably okay. It's probably about the consistency we're going to want. But these medium body, they need a little bit more water. Yes, honey. So if you've got honey that's a little more than room temperature honey, like definitely not no honey out of the fridge or anything, but you know, if you take honey and it's maybe room temperature or even a little bit warmer, or even slightly thicker than maple syrup, or about the consistency of crepe batter, or slightly thicker than like heavy cream. Those are, I kind of only know how to explain it by food, but those are kind of the consistency we're going for. See how it's just running off this end of the thing, and it's still beating across the top, but it's falling a little bit quicker. So we've now got 3 parts paint, I mean, 1 part paint, 3 parts Floetrol, which Floetrol is our pouring medium today. And then we probably have about a teaspoon of water by now. And that's about it. Your honey is super thick. Oh, it's cold there too. So, all right, we're just mixing a little bit of water in each of these. A little bit more. Try not to splash the water on the one we already did. And that copper is just looking beautiful. You can't quite see that on the screen. And I do have a video coming out at 3 o'clock where I use the Hippie Crafter pre-mixed fluid acrylics. Oh my gosh, those are so pretty. In just a second, I'll show you a tile I did with the Hippie Crafter pre-mixed paints. Oh, those are really gorgeous paints. Okay, so just a little bit more water, and then I'll show you the consistency. And then we'll test these out again and watch them kind of fall down the paper. Ah, nice. All right, make sure to scrape the sides, scrape the bottom so you get it all nicely. And then you just want it to flow off the end of your popsicle stick in a nice, good stream across the top. That's still almost too thick. So I have a little bit more turquoise than I just mixed more turquoise than I did of the red. So still 1 part paint, 3 parts Floetrol. And this one probably has, because we've mixed more, this one probably has then like a half a part, or this amount, probably a teaspoon and a half of water. Now I haven't measured, so I'm just kind of guessing, but about a teaspoon and a half. Just because the bees built in your walls. Did you have a beehive in your walls? So now we have that phthalo blue. Gonna add a little bit of water. And these squirt bottles are great to add just a little bit of water. They're real convenient to keep the water right here and just add a little bit at a time. Scrape the sides, get it all. And then I think the blue, you guys can see it a little bit better. See kind of the visual of it. Okay. So just the white, and then we'll get on with testing it out. We'll get this other pour moved out of our way, and we'll do a couple more techniques. All right. Still needs a little bit more. And I just get those squirt bottles at the Dollar Tree. So next week, we'll be testing out some silicones. So we'll be testing out treadmill oil, coconut hair serum, like a spray WD-40 like silicone. It's called CRC. We're going to be trying out several different silicones. We'll be on Wednesday of next week. You get at the festivals, a little pricey. Oh, yeah, I bet. But you can't get enough of it. Oh, awesome. So there we go. There's our white. So now let me move this tile out of the way. And then we will test that out. So let me give you a last little look at that one. Get it moved out of our way. Let me wipe my hands off. Yeah, it is. It's snowing here. It's snowing good now. We're supposed to get quite a bit of snow for our area. Just a moment. Let me get a drink, and then I'll show you guys that other tile. All right. Now, this one is all dry, and this is from that Hippie Crafter. It is absolutely gorgeous, this paint. And so at 3 o'clock, the video with all the links for this paint, at 3 o'clock, the video will be on my channel. So that's what that looks like all dry. So that's amazing. I really love that paint. And that paint is all pre-mixed. You don't even have to worry about consistency. You don't have to mix it up yourself. It's all pre-mixed. So, all right, let's get our paper. Remember our paper, we're seeing how they're doing. So let's move. Let's try to get this. I'll just put it right over the top. We'll make it work. All right, now we're gonna just drip a couple on here, and then I'll bring it up and show you guys up in a better view. The white, I keep getting way too much on there. Doesn't give it accurate. If I get too much, I got to get the same amount. So we have thinned it down. You can see that it is really, they are racing down much quicker now because we have definitely thinned it down. Oh, thank you guys. Yes, I did 4 different tiles, 5 different techniques using those different, the Hippie Crafter pre-mixed paint. So, and we don't have any silicone in any of these yet. So we are going to put silicone here in just a moment. So here we can see our white is a little bit thinner. We need to get our blue, our darkest blue, the couple of these a little bit thinner to get the same consistency. Because I could tell that the white is right about the consistency we need. White is perfect. We need to put up a little bit of water in the red and the blue mainly. The cost comparison is, well, of course, if you're going to be buying these, cheaper craft paints, they're, cheaper, great beginner ones to use. The pre-mixed paints are pretty good comparison. It depends on what you're paying for your Floetrol, what you're paying for your other paints. I get a decent deal, but really it's about an even comparison when you when you factor in using your Floetrol and your paints. About an even comparison to Artist Loft or the cheap paints, about the same. It comes in a 24-piece set. It's Hippie Crafter is what it's called. So, all right, now we are going to do a flip cup, and we're going to do a dirty pour, and we're going to do a swipe, and then we're going to do a blown pour. So I'm going to put some silicone in them for those ones. We did not have any silicone in it for those ones. Today we're going to use treadmill oil. That's what I usually use. So we're going to put in just 2 of the colors. We're going to put it in, I usually pick the 2 darkest. We're going to just put like 1 drop. We're going to try to get 1. We ended up with 2. It's hard to get just 1 sometimes, but literally you want very little. Silicone, less is more. I literally only put it in a couple of the colors. All right. So now let's do a flip cup first. I couldn't decide at first. Oh, we never did add the water. We need just a tad bit water. Here I get talking and forgot I wanted to add a little bit of water in the same ones that I added the silicone. So that's okay. Now the silicone's really going to get mixed in there real good. Okay. Now those are a little bit thinner. And I'll show you. All right, so now we're going to layer in and do a flip cup. So there's that robin's egg blue, that turquoise. I'm going to put just a tad black. Black can take over if you put too much. Same with red can take over. But we're going to put a little bit of blue. Then we're going to put, I think I'm going to put just in between the blue, just a little tad bit more, just a little of that robin's egg. Then I'm going to put some of the red. Then I'm going to put some of that copper. And some more turquoise. So that's a great I love the combination. The turquoise red and copper. Ooh, they're so pretty together. Then we're going to get a little bit of white in there. So we got plenty, more than enough paint. Now we're going to do a flip cup. So right now we have the only two that have silicone are the blue and the red. All right, now we're going to flip this over. We have more than enough paint there, but let's get it to the edges. And then we'll give it a little bit of a torch. Stretch some of this kind of off the side because we have more than enough. Really like those cells, so I'm going to try to get them back to the center a bit. All right, let's give that, let me wipe my hands off so I can grab my torch up, and then we'll give that a torch. So this is a great way to get some of the bigger cells, is to do a flip cup, and you only put silicone, I mean 1 or 2 drops in only 1 or 2 colors. You put too much silicone, you're going to get a whole bunch of the smaller cells. Now you're going to see some smaller cells pop up. If I had this on a canvas and it was a little bit larger, I could stretch these cells out and make them a little bit bigger. But all right, some smaller cells popped up, but there we go. There is a flip cup. Let me kind of get you guys a, I wish you could see it even. The copper is just so pretty pop. See if you get the right consistency, and it's all about consistency with paint pouring. You can test your consistency out by putting it on something like this, but if you get the right consistency, this is where it's at. And so the first pour we did, we had a little bit thicker consistency, no silicone. And that's to do mainly just a tree ring pour. That's the main one. You're going to do a thicker consistency. Now you're going to see that I'm going to leave it at this consistency. I like this consistency. This is what I do about 80–90% of my techniques is with something like this consistency. It's all about getting the proper consistency. And then that's a flip cup. Now we're going to do a dirty pour, same consistency. I'm going to go ahead and move this. I'll give you guys a little bit better look. Sorry, the ring light really gives it a glare. But so that is the flip cup. Let's do a dirty pour, same color, same consistency. And then we're going to do a swipe, then we're going to do a blown pour. Now, when we get to the blown pour, that's the only time I'm going to add a little bit more water. So for string pulls, flip cups, dirty pours, swipes, I can't even think, open cup pour, so like most pours, you're going to want this main consistency. A little bit thinner consistency when we go to do a blown pour or a Dutch pour. That's when you get to be a little bit thinner, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So here we're going to do a dirty pour. We're just going to layer some more in, just like before. Some white, some turquoise. And I just kind of randomly, a little bit at a time. So yeah, there's our Robin's Egg Blue, now our Phthalo Blue. Now I think I'm going to put just a tad bit of that black. And I think we did well with the one before. You can really, like I said, it can take over with the black. And I don't think that we had that happen. So I was happy about that. As well as the red. The red can really take over at times as well. So I'm just layering in here. Now what I'm going to do for a dirty pour, I'm actually, this is kind of a trick I'll show. On one of these Wednesdays, we're going to do different techniques coming up. One Wednesday will be all about dirty pours. One Wednesday will be all about flip cups. But see how I'm giving it a little bit of height there, giving it a stream? That's pulling that white all the way down through. A little bit more. And I think I want just a little tad bit more of this brighter blue. All right, that's plenty for a dirty pour. Now, a dirty pour, you can go in all different directions. You can just, hold it just straight. I'm just going to kind of randomly go at it. All right. Let me see if you guys can. Nope, that's still the glare there. So I'll bring that up, hopefully get some of that glare off. Now I'm just kind of pinching it, bringing it to each of the corners. And that was the same consistency as the flip cup. That's going to give me kind of the smaller cells. But next week, we'll be talking all about cells, because the way you get the cells, which is those little round things, is by the silicone. And I mean, you can get cells other ways, but as a beginner, that's the basic way to get cells. And we'll get more advanced in the lessons, and then we'll talk how to get cells without silicone later on. But next week will be all about how to get cells with silicone. So now I'm going to give that a little bit of a torch just to kind of mainly pop the bubbles. And mainly because I mixed the paint just before this. So there's quite a bit of the chaos. Yeah, that one's pretty chaotic. Now here in a moment, we're going to do the next two are much less chaotic. This one could have had a little bit of negative space, which would be a little bit of plain background would have maybe made it. But the next two, this one's a little bit more chaotic, busy, a lot of cells, a lot of color. And then the next two, the swipe and the blown one, I'll show you a little bit, not quite so wild. So, all right, let me move those out of the way. Let me move that one out of the way. And then we'll do a swipe, which is honestly one of my favorite techniques is a swipe. And again, we just have these 4-inch ceramic tiles. All I've done to them is put a little bit of silicone. Mike just came out to see them. He's loving them. They're looking awesome. So, all right, now for this swipe, I'm actually going to do just negative space background of white. And so some people talk about pillow paint and all this different technology, just like lingo for all the different paint pour. Now, what pillow paint is for the bloom technique. This is just a base. It's mixed up with you saw me mixed up just the same as all the same consistency. I don't mix it any different. I don't put anything different in it. But that's for a swipe for pretty much any of my pours other than the Shelly Art Bloom technique. That's when we're talking about pillow paint. That's a little bit different than a base, and this is just the base. Pillow paint is when you mix other things in it. But we'll get into lingo. We're going to have a whole Wednesday where we talk about just lingo. What's a flip cup? What's silicone? What's Floetrol? What's pouring medium? What's, all the different pillow paint, all that. We'll talk about that. So, okay, we got a nice base layer of our white. Now we're going to put, what we're going to do is we're going to put right down, I can't decide how I want to do this swipe. So what I call these is a kind of a whimsy swipe. What we're going to do is we're going to drizzle. We're going to drizzle some colors and just swipe kind of randomly across. That's how we're going to do it. We're not going to put too much color. This is going to be a little bit less busy than that other ones. So we're going to put this blue as our color with silicone. Get a little bit of that all over. A little bit of this robin's egg. Thank you, thank you. And we'll get a little bit of black on there. I don't think we're going to put the red on this one. We're going to just kind of have it a little bit subtler. And we're literally going to put just some drops of black. Not much. So I've just got a plastic palette knife. Let me get a little bit of elbow room here. And this is, again, the same exact consistency as we were doing for the flip cup, the dirty pour, now a swipe. And you can swipe with paper towel, a business card, an index card, copy paper. I have swiped with so many things, and I have videos swiping with lots of different. And then if I had a little bit more room here and was prepared to, you can also at this time take this and spin it on the cake spinner and kind of pull these out and spread them out a little bit. But we'll just kind of. There we go. And that is the same consistency as the others. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Oh, that means so much to me. Janice, thank you. Thank you. That truly is, oh, that is so cool. Thank you. I'm literally going to cry. You're welcome. That means a lot. Thank you. So, all right, let me try to breathe. I'm going to take a drink. That's what I'll do. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm trying to save for another new camera. Right now I'm filming on my webcam. And what I would like to do is I'm going to be, so that might have given me just enough to go ahead and get the camera. I'm going to get another webcam so that when we're doing the live streams, I can do it at 2 different angles. So I've been saving up for that, and that might have just given me that little push to have enough for the camera. So that really means a lot. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm glad you're learning a lot. You are welcome. Thank you. So on this one, we're going to do a blown one. We're going to do another white background, same consistency. And any questions, let me know if you have any questions. I'm so happy to hear you're learning from me. I try to slow down and, try to explain it the best I can. So I'm so happy to hear that you are, getting something from it. That's what I'm always going for. So I just need a tad bit more white on this one. That's got a little bit of edges over here. Thank you. Thank you. All right, now we got a nice layer of white there. And I do see a few air bubbles. So this is just a creme brulee torch or a chef's torch. Just kind of give it a quick, not too much. I mean, you don't want to really burn the paint or make the paint bubble, just a quick little across there. So this one, this blown pour, I'm actually going to blow it with a aquarium tubing across the middle. So I really don't need very much paint. And Mike must have seen that super chat come over the screen before I did, because I heard him go, wow, from the other room. And then I looked up, and then that came up for myself. So that was kind of neat, because I could tell that Mike must have seen it before I did. So we're just putting a little bit in the middle. We don't want a ton. little bit of black, a little bit of that copper, and then a tad bit of that red down the center. So those red and black can take over. So what we're going to do here is you can use straw. You can use, a lot of people use even like an airbrush or all kinds of, the world's smallest leaf blower would be work too here. This is kind of a small one for that. I am going to be giving away one of those here soon. I'm going to give away this one here soon, probably in the next few weeks. So what I have is aquarium tubing. And so I'm going to just blow very gently. I've got it about almost parallel with it. Just, I don't know, at a 45 maybe. And I'm just blowing as I'm feathering across. Okay, I'm going to take a couple breaths. That's the only thing is you got to take a breath in between. All right. And that's just kind of an abstract. You could do more of a flower design. I was just kind of doing an abstract line down the middle. And you could put this on a cake spinner and spin these out. That would look real pretty. I am going to see if I can, just in the middle there. And what you can do, just to kind of gently blow. Now I'm going to blow straight down just gently to kind of break up that center. Now you do have to be mindful of condensation. Condensation will start to come out. Just kind of wipe it on your shirt or a rag. Depends on how much hot air you blow out. So, all right. So we started with a little bit thicker consistency today, doing a tree ring pour. Then we did the next ones with the same consistency. Now, if you wanted to, you could do a Dutch pour. Now, it's hard to do a Dutch pour like where you would blow the base layer up over with like the mini blower or with the with a touch of purple. Yes, I will have to use purple maybe next week. The dog pound, Lost Dog, his favorite color is purple. He loves it when I use purple. But this week we chose, this is a real nice color palette as well, but you know I use purple quite a bit. So I'm sure maybe next week or the following week we'll use some more purple. So if you were doing a Dutch pour, though, or maybe a blown pour on a larger canvas and you're wanting that paint to really, you're going to thin this down just a little bit more. So you would do for the thickest of techniques, tree ring, then you do a swipe, a blown pour, a dirty pour, a flip cup, all with the same consistency. And that's what about the consistency I always keep in my bottles is about this same consistency. So, and I usually have very little silicone. Now, next week, we're gonna go over like this is coconut hair serum that you can, it's got dimethicone in it, which is very similar to silicone. And we're going to talk about dimethicone, silicone, compare them, put them in different and try to compare them kind of. We've compared the different techniques. And so we've got about 4 or 5 different types of silicone next week we'll be testing out. So, all right. We've been live for about 50 minutes, and I've been trying to keep them about 45 minutes, but they've been tending to be about 55 minutes. So this is our 4th time we've gone live with this series. The first time was just kind of introducing it. Then we talked about, what was the first? I've lost. The last week we talked about fluid acrylic paint, pour different painting mediums, like pouring mediums. We compared DecoArt, Montemart, several different pouring mediums. So then this week we talked about just consistency. Next week, silicone. And then soon we'll go over like lingo, just like what are all these words that we keep saying? Cells and pouring medium and all that. Silicone. So lots to see in the chaos. All right. So let me give you actually, so you can see them all together a little bit better. Thank you so much. The first week was supplies. I was trying to think of what that first one, I couldn't remember if I had done supplies or paint pour, like the paint brands, but I think I did a video, not a live stream, a video on paint brands. So thank you so much, Janice. Yes, it was on supplies. Then we did pouring mediums. Now we've done consistency. So please let me know before I get off of here. Do you have any questions on consistency? But that's a great way to kind of test out your consistency and see how, things are. It's just put them, this is a piece of cardstock. You can put it on a piece of cardstock. You can put it on whatever surface to just kind of, I just tinted it, meaning I just fold it in half so that it can just flow down and see what consistency everything is at. So, all right. And then if you guys ever think of any questions, you can always put questions also down below in the comments, after the live stream has ended. I always leave them up. It does take YouTube a few hours to load it up, but once that it is loaded up onto YouTube, then you can always leave a comment too at that time if you think of a question later on. But yeah, it's still snowing here, so hopefully we'll get those few inches of snow like everybody here in our house is dreaming for. It would be nice to be able to have a few days of snow. So it's a rare thing for us, so it's kind of more of a treat for us because it's a little bit more rare. But all right, I will take some pictures of these and put them on my community tab. But here in just a few minutes at 3 o'clock my time, the video on the Hippie Crafter paint. This video will be up in just a few minutes here. So, all right. Thank you guys so much. And thank you so, so much, Janice. It means so much to me. So thank you. You even made me cry a little. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. So, all right. You keep warm too, Dog Pound. Thank you so much. Keep warm as well. Everyone keep warm. Stay healthy and be the change you want to see in the world, guys. Be the change you want to see in the world. All right, guys. Thank you so much. You guys have an awesome night. And I have a video coming up in a few minutes and a few more coming out in the next few days. But I'll be live next Wednesday at 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time to discuss silicone. All right. Much love. Thank you so much, everyone.